It's always nice to have a full house on board meeting nights. Thank you all for coming. We'll start with the approval of the work session agenda. Mr. Chairman, I recommend a motion to approve the work session agenda as presented.
I have a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Second.
I'll vote for it. I'll vote for it.
At this time, we'll have our invitation led by Mr. Cody Bearden of Boardtown Church of Christ.
If you would pray with me. Father God, we come to you, Lord, and we're just so thankful to be here tonight and to be a part of this community. God, we thank you for this community that we can all reside in and for this school system, Lord, that our families get to be a part of. God, we praise you for allowing our kids to be a part of this place, and we praise you for all of those who serve in this school system in various ways. God, I also thank you for those who have chosen to serve on this board, and pray that you continue to lead them and guide them in the decisions that they make, and pray that it will be done with a selfless heart, focusing on the families that they represent in this position. God, we also thank you for those who will be recognized tonight and for their successes and their accomplishments, and pray that you'll continue to lead all of these young men and women in the things that they do from this point forward. God, we praise you for today. We praise you for all of those who are represented, and pray that you will give them a safe journey back to their homes tonight. And it's through Jesus we pray.
Please stand and join me in the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Point on our agenda, we do presentations and recognitions. While we do have a lot of them tonight, I need to start with a very special one that only comes once a year. Of course, last week was Board Appreciation Week, but we didn't have a board meeting. So at this time, I want to present these certificates in our appreciation for your service on the school board. First, we'll start with Mr. Joe Fluger. And Mr. Michael Parks. And Mr. Doug Pritchett. Mr. Michael Bramlett. And finally, our board chair, Mr. Ronald Watkins. And I understand they've had some good meals at our schools last week and got treated pretty well, and we got some gifts for them tonight. So we do appreciate everything they do. It can be a thankless job to serve on the school board, and we do appreciate it. On to our next recognition. I'll bring up Miss Lottie Mitchell.
Good evening. We do have a lot of recognitions tonight. The first one we want to recognize, she was not here at our last board meeting, but our star teacher was selected. Kinsley Purvis was our star student, and she selected Miss Ashley Stover. And I want to bring her up, and we want to recognize her. We're really excited. Ashley is assistant principal at LG Elementary now, and she taught Kinsley in ninth grade, but she selected her as our teacher for Ashley Stover. Okay, next we want to bring up Coach Heiss to recognize some of our basketball players.
All right, I'm going to mention some of our basketball players, kind of go through a few stats of what they've done this season. All of these were either selected on the all-region team or honorable mention. So our first one up is Ethan Banks. Going up here, Ethan. Ethan averaged, had 11.5 points per game, 147 total rebounds, 63 assists, 75 total steals, 37.7 two-point field goal percentage, a 35.1 three-point field goal percentage, 71.6 free throw percentage, and a total of 334 total points this season. Our next one up is Kate Carter. Kate Carter is actually a three-time All-Region player, so this is his third year selected. He averaged 10.9 points per game, 169 total rebounds, 27 assists, 35 steals, 32 blocks. He was a 53.3 two-point field goal percentage, and believe it or not, 100% from the three-point line, 1 for 1. With a total of 298 total points. Our last one up is Lewis Mulkey. Lewis Mulkey had 8.8 points per game, 199 total rebounds, 33 total assists, 38 steals, 13 blocks, 39.9 two-point field goal percentage, 70% from the free throw line, and a total of 255 total points. The big thing about these three players, first of all, they're great players, great kids. But the big thing is, as a team, to all teams put together, all players put together, these three players combined for the most points, the most rebounds, the most assists, the most steals, the most blocks, and is the third winningest season in my 11 years of coaching with a 19-11 record. So congratulations.
Next, we have Coach May. She'll come up and she's going to bring some of her coaches with her. Recognize some of our swim team.
Good evening. Thank you so much for this tradition. I do have trouble remembering what happened 5 minutes ago, but I'm pretty sure that when I first started coaching 8 years ago, this was not a regular occurrence for board recognition of our athletes, so I do appreciate that this is continuing. With me tonight, I have Coach Alton and Coach Page. They've helped with the swim team. We have 2 swimmers to recognize. We have Law Likens, if you'd like to join us. And we also have Peyton Woodrake. Unfortunately, Peyton is not with us tonight. She's on her way to Junior Nationals in Orlando, so she's competing at the national level. Peyton is an extraordinary athlete. Swim team is a little bit different than our other athletic programs in Gilmer County. We don't compete with our region, we compete just as a state. So I don't have any region stats for you. I couldn't even tell you that all of our region schools have swim teams. So it's swim is definitely a growing program in North Georgia, but I'm excited to see all of the progress that we have seen in the last 8 years. So Peyton drives 100 miles a day to practice with the Dalton Club team, and she placed first for 3A schools at the state competition at Georgia Tech in her preferred event, which is the, 100 backstroke. All right. And so we're enormously proud of her. She's going to go on to Cincinnati and swim with the Bearcats, a D1 school in the fall. So we're very proud of her accomplishments. Law is a junior, and he qualified in the 50 freestyle to compete at Georgia Tech in February. And he's got enormous natural talent. And for the Gilmer High School, of course, we know we don't have a pool to practice in, a traditional pool. The Kusawati River Resort has been very gracious and welcome to allow us to swim there. And so we practice with some unorthodox kind of environment. But Law has done very well this year, and we would have had more of his teammates up here who were within 400ths of a second of qualifying for the state competition. So we're looking forward to enormous improvements in the swim program in the next year, hopefully with cooperation with the county. We're going to get that new pool, and we've got fantastic assistant coaches that are on board. We have a lot of talent with cooperating with working with our young swimmers, and hoping to tap some of that talent that we have in the Gilmer school system. So with all that said, I would like to present this certificate to Rob. Congratulations.
No, the one time I leave it, I'm gonna set her up on that plate. I'm gonna hold on to it as long as I can. As Ms. May said before, thank you so much to the Board of Education, Superintendent, our administration for allowing us to recognize our young men and women that had an exceptional season this year. Josh, go back where we have Coach Doug Haynes, Coach Stacy Galloway, Coach DJ Underwood, and Coach Brent Berry with us, all of our assistants. We have everybody but one here, and this staff has worked extremely hard. Our assistant coaches have worked extremely hard for our kids on and off the mat. So very thankful to have them up here with me. Like I said, a lot of success this season for our girls and our boys program. We're recognizing a group within that group. On the girls' side this year, they didn't keep a team score like they did last year, but our girls would have definitely been top 10 in the state, and that's all classification. On the guys' side, as far as the team goes, we were area dual champions, sectional dual champions, and we were the state runners-up in duals this year. And we finished the year with a 36-6 dual record against all competition between Tennessee, Alabama, North Carolina, and Georgia. As of right now, we have the longest active streak in the state of Georgia in all classifications of reaching the state dual finals, which is something definitely to be very proud of. It was 13 years in a row that we've been in the state dual finals. And we also had 4 other tournament championship victories this year on top of those others. As far as traditional state, we were first in the area traditional. They don't keep a team score of sectionals. That's the first round of the state tournament, essentially. And then we were traditional state champions this year, which I'm very proud to say. And our school, or our wrestlers set the school record for most individual placers in the season with 11 this year. And that's one more than the previous record with 10. The wrestlers we'd like to recognize on the girls' side are our state qualifiers. So going by weight class order, we have, find their specific, they'll probably be up here, yes. I think they're up. All right, first up, we have sectional champ and state qualifier at 142 pounds, Linda Tercera. Next up, we have another state qualifier, 142 pounds, Itzi Exaluna. She's sectional runner-up and state qualifier. Next up is Hannah Mayo. She was state qualifier, 152 pounds. She was sectional runner-up, and she's actually the first ever 3-time girls state qualifier for Gilmer wrestling. That's Hannah Mayo. And was also one of our team captains captains this season. And last but not least, Taylor Scheesser. She's a 10th grader. All right. She qualified at 172 pounds. She was a sectional champ. She was 3rd place in state this year. She was also 3rd place in state last year, which makes her the first ever 2-time girls state placer. And she's also the team captain, and we're very proud of her. Taylor Scheesser. We had about 15 girls start wrestling this year. We finished with about 11. You know, things happen in that stretch. And we had several other girls wrestle at sectionals. But you have to finish at least top 2 to move on to the state level. And again, these are sectionals that were combined with 4A. They were very tough. They're full brackets. So what they did was pretty special. So very proud of you. On the guys' side, again, very special year. These seniors and everyone has been working so hard for so long to get over that hump that we've been at for a little while. But I'll start individually. First up, and just going by weight, Juan Raphael, 11th grader, sectional champion and state champion this year at 106 pounds. You'll see some of them come up, they still got a big smile on their face, because I think they're probably reliving a little bit of state from a few weeks back. At 113 pounds, sophomore, sectional runner-up, state runner-up. As of right now, he's a 2-time state finalist and a state champion. And he was also a team captain for us this year, and that is Carson Ferris. At 120 pounds, senior, Arturo Gonzalez was 3rd at sectionals this year, 3rd in state, and he is a 2-time state placer, a finished career as a 2-time state placer, one of those being in a state finals appearance, and he was one of our team captains this year. At 126 pounds, a sophomore, finished 4th in sectionals, finished 5th in state. In his first opportunity to go, he placed. And we're looking forward to a lot of great things out of him. That's Braden Berry. At 132 pounds, a junior, was a sectional qualifier this year and has been a state qualifier before, and that is Kellen Watts. At 138 pounds, senior, finished 3rd at sectionals this year, 5th in state, finished his career as a 2-time state placer, and that is Carson Bentley. At 145 pounds, junior, he finished 6th in sectionals. You have to be top 6 in sectionals to go to state this year. It's a 12-man bracket. That's the smallest it's been before. And he's a state qualifier, and that is Frizzly and Brosco. Our 152-pounder wasn't able to make it tonight. We have a couple kids that are out working right now. They couldn't get off. But at 152 pounds, he was 3rd in sectionals. He was 2nd in state. Finished his career as a 2-time state placer, 2nd and 6th place, and he was a 3-time state qualifier. And that was senior Miguel Jacinto. At 160 pounds, junior, finished 3rd at sectionals. He finished as the state runner-up. He is now, after his junior year, he's a 3-time state placer, having placed as a freshman as well. He's a 2-time state finalist. He was a team captain for us, and that is Diego Jacinto. pounds. I don't think Daniel was able to make it. It was Daniel Reynoso. He's a senior. Finished third at sectionals. He was 5th place in state, and he'll finish his career as a 2-time state qualifier on top of that. Very proud of him too. That's Daniel Reynoso. At 182 pounds, junior, finished 7th in sectionals, which was just one off. He was a state alternate this year. Look forward to big things from him as well. And that's Hunter Brown. At 195 pounds, he wasn't able to make it, but he finished as sectional runner-up. He was 3rd place in state this year. Finished his career as a 2-time state placer. He was one of our team captains, and that was Owen Moss. Owen also just received a scholarship from Mayo College, and he's going to receive a few offers, so he's trying to figure out what he wants to do and what the best fit for him is. But we're so excited to see some of our wrestlers and just any of our students go on to that next level, and because it doesn't happen all the time. So we're really proud of him for that and reaching out for those goals. At 220 pounds, senior, sectional champion, state champion. He'll finish his career as a 3-time state placer, 1st, 2nd, and 4th, 2-time state finalist. He's a team captain for us, and he's also signed an athletic scholarship with Life University to wrestle, and that is Dylan Galloway. And last but not least, our heavyweight. He was a sectional senior, sectional runner-up. He placed 3rd in state after avenging some tough losses before and battling through. He'll finish as a 2-time state qualifier on top of that. And he's also received some offers to wrestle in college, and that is Tony Alea. Those are our state placers. One thing I thought was interesting with the seniors, they finished up their career, and over the course of time, at least in duels, what they've accomplished, they finished 90-17 as their dual record in their 4 years. They finished as state dual runners-up 4 years in a row. They were top 5 in all traditional tournaments, 4th, 2nd, 4th, and 1st. And they won the area dual and traditional championships every year for the team. So this is a very special group, an exceptional group. They've really put in the time and the work to be champions. And I'm just so thankful that we got to be here to watch it and see them work and see how they interacted with each other. So just a very special group, young men and women, and a very special year for our team. But it's not just for our team, it's for our schools, for our community. It's bigger than just one group. So we're just very proud to bring the championship back to Gilmer County where we feel like it belongs. So thank you so much.
Okay. Can we get in a little bit closer? A little bit closer? Okay. Look back here. Thank you. Did any parents want to get a picture? Did you get it?
Yes. Oh my God. Guys, real quick,
we got
one other thing that Mr. Watkins said is really important is, we talked about wrestling at the next level, and we just had one of our own, Matthew Waddell, who finished as a 3-time state champion, 4-time state placer for Gilmer County. He just won the SoCon championships and will be wrestling the NCAA championships this coming up weekend. So he's a 3-time national qualifier. He's finished second twice in SoCon. He's won it once, and he's just a great representative of what you can do if you keep working hard. But very proud of him and his accomplishments, and we look forward to following him at the national tournament this weekend. So, thank you very
Subject to the wishes of the board, we can add or remove items from the consent agenda later as needed in preparation for that meeting. Consent items are minutes of the 2/14/22 work executive session and 2/17/22 regular session. Also, item B is the out-of-state and overnight field trips, which you can find in the folders. On to the superintendent's report. Under academic achievement, we have the Newcomers Academy. Ms. Lindy Matters is going to give us a little bit of information about that.
Good evening.
Go ahead, we can.
All right. Okay. So I will spend a few minutes to talk about the Newcomers Academy, and I believe this is something that you've heard about for a good part of the year. And it's something that we've talked about as a district for several years, the need here. We've looked at it a couple times. We're ready to move forward. The why. So Gilmer's Newcomer Academy has been designed for middle and high school students who have limited education in their native countries and little to no English proficiency. And the things that I'm going to talk about today are we're still in the beginning of planning, and so there's some things that I may show today that are just tentative. So, our goals are to provide a safe, supportive, and language-rich learning environment, to increase academic scores, and to lower dropout rate. And our mission is to support the linguistic, academic, and emotional needs of students that transition to the United States. I pulled these numbers today. Our student population today was 4,079. 16.9% of those are English learners, 691 active students, and we have 89 monitored students. That means they've exited the ESOP program in the last 2 years. And as of today, we have 55 students who have been in the United States or in our schools for less than a year. Our ethnicity as of today is 65.2% white and 32.4% Hispanic and 2.4% other. This is what our ideal situation will look like. Our high school participants will have 2 90-minute blocks at the location. Semester 1 and semester 2, they'll both take a communications class and a language of math and a language of science class. Those are all elective classes, and we're building the academic language for the students so they'll be successful when they transition back into high school. For our middle school, we're looking at 2 63-minute periods. Their focus will be ELA and social studies, and then they would have a 15-minute block to work on their social and instructional language. And then their 3 remaining classes would be or be 4 remaining classes. They would have their math and science and 2 connections back at the middle school. So we've looked at several types of curriculum. The Lexia, Core 5, and Power Up, and System 44 and Report 8 are all reading and writing materials. And then there's a Lexia English program. And the one thing that we want to ensure is that we do not put students in this class and put them on a computer the whole time. So we're gonna put a cap on the number of minutes they can stay on the computer. So we want the learning to come from the teacher. One of the components with the immigrant and the migrant and ESOL programs that I talked about last time is there's a strong need for family connections. So the teacher will be required to meet with the parents and host meetings to provide ideas and ways that they can help their students at home. We want a teacher that's ESOL certified or endorsed and has a background in reading strategies, because we're looking at students who are middle and high school that cannot read or write English. And so we want to make sure that they have some background knowledge in reading strategies. The position will be PPE funded, and if we hire a paraprofessional, that would be Title III funded. So the teacher schedule would look something like this. They would have 2 blocks of high school students, and they would have lunch and planning, and then the middle school students. As for all of our teachers, they participated in PLC, so one of the things that we discussed is this teacher would work with the high school's language arts PLC to ensure that there's the consistent message being given. So our plan right now is if we have a student who enrolls in the fall semester, they would complete their fall and spring semesters at the Newcomers Academy. If they enroll during the second or third 9 weeks, they would complete the spring and fall semester. And if they enroll in the fourth 9 weeks, they would finish up the spring semester at the academy and then complete fall and spring the following year. And just for planning purposes, we've considered how their lunch will be provided, and we'll ensure that both of those are held on their home sites. For transportation, we're going to have the students, because our middle and high school students already ride a bus together, the only additional transportation that we're going to need is being able to get the middle school students to the Larry Walker Center during the middle of the day, and then they would dismiss from the Larry Walker Center to ride home. So it's just going to be the shuttle bus will be transporting students in the middle of the day from Clear Creek Middle to Larry Walker. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Y'all have any questions about that?
So right now, we at the high school level, we have 55 kids in this.
No, the high school has, as today, they have 12, and the middle school has 14 students. And that would go right along with our maximum class sizes that we're allowed for increase over. Thank you.
On to graduation requirements. As I had mentioned in a previous meeting, I wanted Ms. Foley to do a presentation about potentially changing our graduation requirements for the class of freshmen in the 22-23 school year and beyond. But when we went back and started looking at the policy, we didn't see a need to change the policy itself. We could just change the requirements in the handbook, so there's no need for board approval. But what we did is we added a 4th social studies and reconfigured the electives, required electives, to add an additional class and make a requirement that they pass a college and career academy pathway during their time in high school. That way we wouldn't screw anything up for athletes who wanted to take multiple weightlifting classes or band kids who want to take band every semester. We're going to include this in the 2022-2023 handbook for the freshman class and beyond. You all understand how it works. The current requirements would stay in place for all the students that are currently in high school, which we're going to start for the next year and move on. That's just us trying to up the standard a little bit. That would bring the minimum total units required from 24 to 26, which still leaves 6 other courses because they can take 32 across 4 years. Y'all have any questions about that? That is the fact, correct? We're going to include that in the handbook.
So we're jumping to 24 to 26.
Yes.
So 2 and 2.
Right.
Yes. Dr. Ridley, how would that, if a student transfers in, say, their senior year, and how do we negotiate that? Is there a final year.
And what about what we do if they work?
If, you know, if they're going to a school that only requires 24,
Mhm.
you know, and they move in their final year, do we catch them up? I mean, what do we have time to
That
catch
would
them?
be the intent.
To try to get
Yes.
caught up to it,
We
right?
have, we have like Apex. I used to use that really for all that too. We have that, so we have flexibility to catch them. On our charter, we can do a lot of different things. All right, moving on to parent community engagement. I wanted to just provide an update that Ms. Foley is in the process of assembling a steering committee for the College and Career Academy in order to include community stakeholders in the design of the overall program. Those steering committees will generally be a little larger than the national school governance team, could include 12 to 20 members, and will encompass stakeholders from throughout the community. Next, we have high-performing culture and workforce. Personnel, Mr. Chairman, I will discuss hiring recommendations and compensation later in executive session, but you should have the personnel agenda. You'll notice that it's pretty long because we're starting to do hiring for next year. If you all have any questions, we can discuss those in executive session. Next, we have operational effectiveness, and I have sent you on a couple of different occasions the information for the gym scoreboard. So we have all the final bids in place, and we have the folks from Lakeview back there. If you guys have any questions, I had Mr. Berry on the agenda, but unless you guys have any questions that are specific to the bids, we can go with whatever option you choose. But you'll have a couple of days to look at that until we make a recommendation on Thursday. Y'all have any questions while the Plainview guys are here? Okay. I'll give you that. I know it's a lot.
While they're here, go with the changes we made, what we did on bid, we changed it from the big school boards on energy to this.
Right. What you guys looked at, with last month was an option that had video boards on both sides, plus 2 video boards suspended in the middle. And what you had asked for to go back and look, that's option A, is now called option B, and that has smaller fixed digit scoreboards that look like this page, on the ends, but you still have the video scoreboards in the middle. It also includes the shot clocks and perimeter lighting on the goals, is that correct?
Correct.
Option B is that option.
So the light room go off the shop clock, go to 0 time.
How does that work?
Say that again, sir?
The perimeter lights on the goals?
It has to do with the game clock and when it can count down. Derek can speak a little more to that, exactly how it works in terms of shot functioning.
Yeah, so on the shot clocks, you're actually going to have the game score and the actual shot clock. When the shot clock goes down to 0, the perimeter lighting in the basketball goal will illuminate, showing the referee that the shot has been after the time. Both option A and B have the shot clocks and perimeter lighting.
Do we have any speakers in these?
We're going to use the existing ones. I believe they were replaced.
Was it 2 years ago? The existing speakers on the ends for the gym?
Within the last 3 years, I believe.
And we actually just had the original installer come out and tune those and make sure that they are operating where they're supposed to.
And we replaced the power amps.
We always praised the power amps because they were not
I
driving.
thought they might spec might come in with a new scoreboard.
It's weight,
No.
it's weight, sir. Yeah,
Yes,
those trusses.
In fact, we had to remove, if you remember in the gym, there's that old speaker system that's up there. We're having to remove that, and we're using our existing speakers, because that one up there is, we needed that weight in order to be able to do the sermon. In order to add the hoist, because we actually, we went with the hoist option. Otherwise, we'd end up buying a lift in order to service it. And then we run the risk of floor damage, and it's gonna be $6,500 the other in terms of cost. The lift would be approximately the same as the hoist.
Don't we have a lift? Do we buy, well, silver lift?
We do.
We got one that reach up that high?
It won't reach that high, but with the cable system, we'll be able to let it down.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Under policies, these policies are current policies that are part of our consistent revision process. They will be posted on the GCSS website for public review and comment before second reading at the Board of Education work session next month. Subject to feedback and public deliberations, these will be voted on at the regular session next month. First read policies are policy DIE, fraud prevention, policy EBBF, safety inspections, policy JB, student attendance, and I would keep an eye on that, because right now we are considering a pretty strategic revision of that policy to try and improve attendance district-wide. And finally, policy JBC, one homeless students. Our second read policies, these policies have been posted on our district website since our work session last month and submitted to GSBA legal counsel for review. We have received no public feedback on these policies, but did receive recommendations from GSBA legal counsel for policy JGF, student safety, to remove the verbiage industrial arts. Policies for second read are policy IHE, promotion and retention, policy IHF, graduation requirements. As I mentioned earlier, no revisions needed there, but just put this in the handbook. And policy JGF, student safety, and policy JGF2, seclusion or restraint of students. On Thursday, I'll recommend that these policies be approved. If you guys will have any questions. Next up is fiscal accountability. Mr. Clark, please come forth and give us our December 2021 nutrition report.
Good evening. I had, for the month of February, we had actually our expenditures, I'll go over our numbers for January. Our expenditures were under our revenues, so we had a great month again in January. $82,230. You know, although the same story, different month, our food prices continue to go up, but it seems to me that we're kind of leveling out as far as our supplies. So the shortage that the suppliers are giving us are less and less, which is a good thing, considering everything else is going kind of crazy. But the month of February was an excellent month as far as participation. That was actually the best month that we've had this year. We had 82% out of the whole county that ate with us for lunch, and 58% for breakfast. So that was an excellent year. It was best excellent month. That was the best month we've had. So that's all I have, unless you have any questions or anything. Thank you.
Next, under fiscal accountability, we have classified pay scales. Several months ago, this board approved the minimum salary in SS to be raised to $12 per hour as recruitment and retention measures. All classified pay scales were adjusted temporarily. The team has worked to update and revise all the classified pay scales included in your packet. On Thursday, I will recommend you adopt these classified pay scales, making the retention raises approved earlier in the year permanent. There's a lot of them. If you guys have any questions, we can go over them at any time. We went through and defined these poems last week. Trying to do a lot of work on this. And her folks have done that. And speaking of Ms. Penland, bring her up and do her budget update.
Good evening. You have the purchasing policy expenditures, and these are listed here for your disclosure purposes. As you can see, we have the SRO. This is our contract basis for our SROs in our school system, and some other CARES funding. We also have next is our financial report. And this is for the month of January, or 7 months of the year, which is 58.33% complete. Our total revenues for the year-to-date period is $30,692,000, 76.78%. Our local tax revenues is $17,842,000, and that is 96.3% of our budgeted revenues. Our expenditures for the year-to-date period is $23,491,000, and that's 58.7%. That gives us an excess of revenues over expenditures through January of $7.2 million and a fund balance of $28.2 million. Our total encumbrances at the end of January were $278,858. So as you can see, we're right on track for our regular revenues. Our local tax revenue pretty much has topped out, so we will start seeing our fund balance decline slightly this month, and this will continue on through the end of June.
Can you repeat how much fund balance we got?
As of January, we have $28,299,000. We are projected to have $21 million at the end of June. That will change slightly because we're having to push some of the CARES expenditures.
We're not really just spending money on anything and everything. Our money is pretty good, right?
Yes,
I think it's
we've been very conservative with our spending.
And another feather in Ms. Penland's cap is that we finished our audit exit interview today, and we not only had no findings, but they said there's no such thing as a perfect audit, but this one is darn near close. So congratulations to you and the team for putting that on.
Thank you.
Fantastic job. Any other questions for Ms. Penland?
Yeah, curious, but can you explain how that's helped us on our own money and stuff, like what we are and how, why we can buy these scoreboards and stuff, it's not really hurting our budget and stuff, or I mean, how we can do all this stuff and still have
Yes.
$28 million in reserve?
Well, when I report to you, this is the general fund. This is only the general fund that I'm reporting here. So when you read on over, you're going to see all of the special revenue funds. We have our capital projects funds, and we have our debt service fund. So there's a lot of different revenue sources, and they come into different funds. So 2 years ago, we were awarded the CARES funding, and that has been a very substantial portion of the school's money that we've had for the past 2 years. And I think I sort of went over a little bit this last month and told y'all, like, when we first got it, we were told we could spend it different ways, and they changed the rules as you go on. So now our guidance is, if it was approved when the expenditure was made, you're okay. But what we could pay for with CARES 1 in the beginning, we cannot pay for that now. So we thought we were gonna be cut, our funds were gonna be cut from the state. So we went back and we pushed a lot of expenditures to CARES. And that increased our fund balance in FY '21 by about $3 million. So we were, money that we would have typically spent with our general fund, we used the federal government's money. So if you look compared to last year, we are at least $3 million, if not more, between 3 and 4 above where we would have been had we not had that CARES money. So as far as like scoreboards, we pass an e-SPLOS, and those projects are voted on by the taxpayers, and we decide what projects those will cover. So we can only spend money on the items that the taxpayers voted on. So you cannot change that, even though you do that 5-10 years ahead of time. We are still spending our 2015 e-SPLOS funds that was voted on probably in 2012 or 13. So within that fund, if you remember, we had athletic facilities. We did the stadium renovation. We did the ag facility, the cannery and the new ag facility. We did the high school renovation. So those projects, we can still, spend money in that. As it turned out, with our upturn in our sales tax revenue, we collected more money than we ever anticipated at the time. So we budgeted for all those funds, but now we have an excess because the sales tax revenue came in higher than expected. So some of these things like the scoreboard, the stadium lights, back in the day when they did that project, they planned to do all those things, but there was not enough money in the budget. So we only budgeted $3.5 million for that project. So they cut out lights, they cut out scoreboard, and did the other things, the brick facade and all that. And now that, there is extra funds, I know that is, where those will be paid for from, is from our athletic facilities in 2015 e-SPLOS. Is that sort of what you want me to tell you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I know as a school board system, we are handling, I feel like we are handling money very good.
Yeah, at that time, we didn't, and I say we, this is the superintendent and the board's decision, I just account for it. But, they didn't want to go over, because they wanted all those things in the original plans. But rather than going over the $3.5 million budget, they said, what can we take out and, do later if we have money. So that was, same thing with the cannery, we went back and did a little awning on that, a few things, because we tried to stick, we came in under budget on every project that we, put in there.
And then what's our current fund balance for the 2015 e-SPLOS?
The balance remaining in the 2015 e-SPLOS, I just looked that up today, it's slightly over $7 million right now. And that's another thing, our e-SPLOS, we're actually saving money on our e-SPLOS right now with CARES too, because our projected expenditures for e-SPLOS included every year spending technology. So we have pushed the majority of technology back to CARES because that is an allowable expense. School bus purchases, we are purchasing buses with CARES. So we've got 2 or 3 years worth of e-SPLOS that we normally would have spent. We're using CARES money for that. So we're trying to be very diligent with using our CARES money with things that the system needs, that anything that does fit into those categories that is eligible, we're trying to utilize it. So that's just making our 2015, we can carry these, we can have multiple e-SPLOS remaining. So that's not going to expire, that money we collected. We may still be using the 2016 e-SPLOS for technology 5 years from now. So, speaking of our e-SPLOS, for the month, in our 2015 e-SPLOS, we had expenditures of $248,398, and $220,000 of that was the scoreboard. And we had the balance of that was spent on HVAC controls and ongoing technology that is not eligible out of the CARES. We still have a few things that, we cannot pay for. Our 2020 expenditures for East Bluff, we had $162,811, and that was the final payment on our Clear Creek Elementary School. So we should be receiving the final change order. We came in under budget of over $400,000 on that school. And we should, as soon as we get all that, we should be able to apply for the final funding from the state. They withhold so much to the very end, so we should be able to apply for that.
You have a fund balance for that 2020 course.
That one, keeps changing because we have collections, but we're right at about $9 million. Now, we have to make bond payments out of that, so, that's not all available for that spending. So another thing with our East Bluffs, we cannot spend it before we receive it. We have to, since we've already spent bond money now, that's when it's bond. And now we have to spend as we collect it. So some of those projects, like we would like to get to doing some of those, but we'll have to wait until we collect enough. So, yeah, that will probably, it'll be toward the end of that before we have enough money. And even with that, for instance, we budgeted to never have enough. We thought we would have about $4.8 million left to go on the fine arts, and then the 2025 would roll the rest of that. But we are going to have, more than what we anticipated, but it still would not be enough to
Which would be fine if it's going to cost that much to build it, but it's building cost, well, we're talking about probably $13 million.
Yes. So, our East Bluff collections for the month, this was for the month of January, we collected $557,494, and that was $126,000 less than the month of December, but $61,000 more than January last year. So, is there any more questions? Thank you.
All right, under superintendent's announcements, we have pre-K registration coming up. What's the deadline for that?
It's April 4th.
April what?
14th.
April 14th is the deadline for pre-K registration. Robbie, make sure you put that back. Kindergarten registration. Next up is public participation. According to policy BCD-R1, and as a final agenda item at the board work sessions, it would be the intent of the board to allow input solely on agenda items from those in attendance. All presentations to the board are to be brief and are intended for the board to hear comments or concerns without taking action. All other time limits and topic restrictions remain in effect. If there's anyone here for public participation, please make yourself known now. Mr. Chairman, at this time, I recommend the board go into executive session to discuss personnel, litigation, and real estate. No action will be taken following executive session.
Have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Second.
I'll vote for it. I'll vote.